Welcome to another Howls and Rows post-game breakdown. Today we're going to talk about how Minnesota completed another fourth quarter comeback to vault themselves into the first seed in the Western Conference. This wasn't the best night for Minnesota, and they kind of looked like they were going to peter out into a rather disappointing loss, but on a night where their usually elite defense was AWOL, they won this game by adjusting their offense and wearing down the Pelicans with smart basketball on that end. So as usual, we're just going to run through some of the best film here and pick out what we can find. So the Wolves are down big to start the fourth quarter, and right away we get the Pelicans coming out in zone defense. You see Mike Conley pointing here to Karl-Anthony Towns to come and break that zone from the middle where he's so dangerous. So they're pretty much going to invert positions. Towns is coming to get the ball in the middle, which means Conley jets out to the corner. When Towns catches in the middle, Valanciunas has to push up, and Robinson Earl needs to shuffle down to take away an easy bucket for Gobert. All of a sudden, Conley has orchestrated for himself an open look, and it's a perfect start to the quarter for Minnesota. So we're flowing into a simple pick and roll that is nothing special, but it really highlights the two bigs. When Gobert rolls, Herb Jones has to stunt here, and then recover to Towns when it swings Cat's way. That gives Towns space to attack this closeout, bringing Valanciunas up in rotation, and now it's going to be an easy lob pass for Gobert, who's still hanging around the rim after that original rim run. Now we get some good post pick and roll spacing from Gobert, which is an area he's improved a ton this season. After some ball movement here, you see Gobert is going to move out of the area under the rim. That unclogs the lane a little and gives Shake Milton this lane to pass it to him with a runway to go and score it at the rim. It was a really good start to the period on both ends for Minnesota. They'd brought a 14-point deficit back to single digits, but they do get sloppy over the next few minutes with some really bad possessions on both ends of the floor, and all of a sudden that lead is ballooning out to 14 again. After they turn it over for a transition dunk and then give up this open corner three, I kind of felt like this one might be getting out of their reach. So they just go to a Towns isolation where he can really leverage his gravity in the most simple way. Herb Jones is creeping toward Cat in gap help here, and Towns is luring him in with the dribble. As soon as this foot goes down, Towns pulls the trigger on the pass and Anthony Edwards has this lane open to him. He's too quick to stop if you're going to give him a lane like this. And again, we get to some more fun stuff later, but right now they're just really heavily leaning on Cat. This looks unscripted, but Minnesota love designing their trailer transition drives for Towns. You can tell because all three players have moved over here to the weak side of the floor. That's giving Towns all of this space here to take his man to the hoop off the bounce. It's important to note this little Nickeil Alexander-Walker flurry here, and it's really important in the context of the game as well. He's up at the top of this zone on defense here. He's going to dig down and stay with Robinson Earl. Now when Dyson Daniels tries to lob this back out to the open shooter, he's jumping that passing lane, and eventually he gets this really weird dunk attempt to trickle in. More really important stuff from Alexander Walker here again. Next possession down on defense, he helps get a contest up on this three, and now he's leaking out and stepping into a really confident three-point shot. It's a huge 5-point swing created by the backup guard. That run really helped the Wolves gain some momentum again. They're getting some stops defensively, and both of their scoring outlets are getting involved. Anthony Edwards drills this little jab step mid-range jumper, and then Towns bails them out again with an offensive rebound and a hoop and a harm putback. All of a sudden, Minnesota has this down to a 4-point game. Now we're in crunch time, and the Wolves really start running some of their actions. We start with this little pick and roll down screen play. You see Anthony Edwards is lurking down in the paint, and Gobert sets this high ball screen. Gobert is going to come straight out of that ball screen and roll straight into a free throw line extended down screen for Edwards to curl off. Edwards reads the defense expertly on this one. Najee Marshall is going to try and jump the passing lane by ducking around the screen this way. So Edwards is almost going to reject the down screen and flare out to here, opening up an easy catch and shoot look to finally whittle the lead down to a single point. The two teams trade some free throws and some easy buckets, and now Minnesota is going back to their offensive clipboard. This time they're going to go to that trusty Horns flare action that we speak about so often on this channel. You see the Horns screens giving Conley the options here. He's going to come off the Towns pick, and as soon as he does, Towns is going to come straight past Gobert, who's setting a flare screen. When he catches, He can easily launch this shot, but Dyson Daniels has to rotate over and take that away. That leaves Anthony Edwards wide open for that extra pass 3. Towns makes the unselfish decision as he has all game long, and it's back to a 1-point game again. So after New Orleans miss on their next trip down, Minnesota are just going to go back to that same Horns flare action and make the Pelicans prove they can stop it. So it's the same thing, Horns screen up at the top by Towns and Gobert, and Towns is going to come off that ball screen and straight into Gobert's flare screen. This time Gobert really hits the chaser, Valanciunas doesn't want to get out there, and even with Herb Jones's brilliance on the closeout, they give Towns too much space to look at the rim. Minnesota finally get their lead. So the Pelicans go down the other end and make this shot, which is worth noting because it's a crazy ass bucket from Brandon Ingram. And after a couple of missed free throws from Gobert and one made free throw from Ingram, the Wolves go into their final offensive possession with a 1-point deficit. The important part here is this kind of wedge, kind of down screen from Mike Conley. It not only frees Towns to come collect the ball, but it forces the switch and puts Daniels on Towns. Now Towns has a mismatch and this whole lane to deal with. Jeremiah Robinson Earl is going to rotate over here to take the rim away and potentially take a charge, but Cat is under control, he stops short, and he nails the sweet little running jumper. Brandon Ingram gets his stuff locked up by Jaden McDaniels on the final possession of the game, and it's a wonderfully executed final period for the Timberwolves in the books. Once again, Minnesota weren't overly convincing in this game, but they're finding a way to grind out wins, and more importantly, they're finding ways to come back and win in games that seem done. That's a great trait to have, and one they haven't had in the past. Thanks again for watching Howls and Growls. Please subscribe for more.